Okay, we are set to go. Karibuni, it is a good Thursday morning. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Africa Startup Ecosystem Builders, that is ASEB Learning Labs. We are excited to welcome you today. A brief introduction of who ASEB is and the mission we have is ASEB is dedicated in pioneering ecosystem building as an innovative strategy for economic development. Our mission is to empower individuals and communities to achieve economic independence through entrepreneurial success. Additionally, we strive to recognize and celebrate the often overlooked heroes who play a vital role in fostering ecosystem growth. Africa stands on the brink of a digital revolution marked by a vibrant entrepreneurial landscape and a vast untapped potential. To unlock this potential and stimulate economic growth, it is essential to cultivate a dynamic and resilient ecosystem that encourages innovation, collaboration, and rapid advancement. This vision is the foundation of the Africa Startup Ecosystem Builders, ASEB Summit and Awards, a significant initiative spearheaded by Set Up a Startup. The ASEB Awards lie at the core of ASEB dedication to recognizing and celebrating exceptional contribution to ecosystem building. As a key element of the summit, these awards honor the unsung heroes who have significantly advanced entrepreneurship, strengthened startup ecosystems across Africa. They highlight individuals and organizations that have shown remarkable dedication, innovation, and impact in the ecosystem building efforts. By celebrating these achievements, ASEB Awards inspire and motivate others to excel in the ecosystem building, further driving the growth and success of entrepreneurship in Africa. These awards are not merely an event. It is a vibrant platform featuring workshops, breakout sessions, and collaborative activities. This series of learning labs are a lead up to the Kenyan edition of ASEP Awards, which will be held virtually on the 29th of August. So that is the end of this month. Today, we are having our third session, having already conducted 2 successful sessions where we tackled section 1, we tackled the topic understanding worker cooperatives. And during our session 2, we had building and sustaining entrepreneurship, entrepreneur ecosystem. Today's topic is additionally a fun one. Today's topic is access to markets in Africa and beyond. We are going to focus on exploring strategies for African entrepreneurs to access global markets through e-commerce, trade facilitation, and collaborative networks. Our experts on the panel, their insights will guide on overcoming market barriers, leveraging digital platforms, and utilizing supportive policies to drive economic growth. Together with the panelists, we have our moderator for the day. Her name is Soni Anangasa Musundi. Soni is a seasoned sales professional, a sales and leadership coach with a passion for mentorship and training. She runs Self-Mind Harvest Limited, a company specializing in sales and leadership training. Her extensive experience spans through microfinance, health, FMCG, and entrepreneurial education, investment banking, Paygo Solar and training consultancy, working in Uganda, Kenya, Uganda, and Cameroon. She's also passionate about women's mentorship, and is also the founder and patron of Wadada Kupitiliza mentorship initiatives. She serves at SME Founders Association as the outreach coordinator and is an active member of Simba Toastmasters Club. Soni is also a published author in the book, How We Rise. Thank you so much. Over to you, Soni.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction and for giving us the basis of why we are here today. We are so excited about the topic for the day and also our speakers for today. And I'm just elated by the amount of expertise that we have today. So my question would be for all the ladies and gentlemen here. Yeah. The first thing I would like to say is that there's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. We also have a Swahili saying that says, umoja ni nguvu, utengano ni udhaifu. So we are here today to be able to learn from each other on how we can access markets in Africa and beyond, that being our topic for today. So my question would be, are you an SME? Are you an MSME? Are you an entrepreneur? Or just a general startup who is looking to break into new markets? If you are one, then welcome and feel at home because you are in the right place and at the right time. This insightful session is definitely for you. Based on the introduction that was given, we'll see that beyond Africa, the global market beckons. But breaking into established markets is not an easy feat. Startups often grapple with brand recognition, distribution challenges, and cultural nuances. To succeed, they need support in market research, product adaptation, and export financing. Additionally, nurturing strategic partnerships with global distributors and retailers is very crucial. So we are here today to explore the strategies for African entrepreneurs to access global markets through e-commerce, trade facilitation, and collaborative networks. So welcome, feel very welcome to today's session. And we are going straight into introducing our very experts, the three speakers for today. And I hope that you'll be able to gain valuable insights and strategies to help you expand your market reach and leverage on Africa's growth potential. So how we are going to do this today, we'll introduce our speakers. They will answer a few questions. If you have any questions as we move along, please make sure you type them on the chat. And later on, after we have had the panel speak, we will have a session, a Q&A session where we will be able to answer some of your questions. So please be very engaged, be very keen, and don't leave your questions by not typing them on the chat. Please make sure you type them and then we can address them later and even have a session to maybe hear from some of you. So to help me introduce our speakers, we have our first speaker, who is Makena Mwiti. Makena is an international development professional who brings with her over 26 years experience in gender equality, women's livelihood development, women's economic empowerment, and safeguarding. She has worked in various programs on financial and market inclusion for low-income population, vulnerable, and savings groups. She has also worked in the areas of digital technology, agribusiness, microfinance, and commercial banking. Makena has a proven track record of building successful gender equality and women empowerment programs globally and in Africa. She has worked in over 14 countries in East, West, Central, and Southern Africa. And globally, she has also worked in programs in the number of regions, including Latin America, the Caribbean, East Asia, and the Pacific, Europe, and Central Asia, Sub-Saharan Africa, and the Middle East, as well as Northern Africa. Isn't that impressive? Her extensive record demonstrates her success in innovating and implementing programs valued at over 600 million US dollars. She's a highly skilled leader who has built high-performance teams that have delivered strong gender outcomes and realized impact, reaching over 15,000 women in Africa. Makena has an extensive on-the-ground working experience with key development parties, including the World Bank, IFC, FDB, and USAID. An experienced trainer, Makena has developed and executed capacity building, strengthening programs for national governments, regional entities, civil societies, private and public sectors, donors, and other funders that advance women livelihoods development and women's empowerment. Additionally, she has developed new and innovative women economic empowerment strategies with an initial focus on enhancing livelihood opportunities for women that reduce poverty and inequality by generating employment among poor households. Makena is a strong people person with an entrepreneurial approach and track record of delivering women's economic empowerment programs. One interesting thing about Makena is that at 15 years old, she was in a band singing. So when we were having a chat with her, I told her maybe she should revisit that. So with the beautiful emojis that are there, can you kindly help me, ladies and gentlemen, welcome our first speaker, who is Makena Mwiti. Let's welcome Makena. Let's put in those emojis and welcome her to our session today. Karibu sana Makena. Maybe you can just say hello, and then we move on to the next speaker. You are on mute, Makena. You can just unmute and say hello to the viewers. Let me move on to the second speaker, then we can give her an opportunity to talk to us and say hello later. So very quickly, I would like to introduce our second speaker, who is Fiona Ngaruro. Fiona is the founder, lead consultant, and trainer at Ecom Essentials, a digital transformation consultancy that works with entrepreneurs to empower them with strategic and practical skills to thrive in the digital economy. Fiona brings a wealth of experience designing digital skills programs, coaching and training entrepreneurs, and implementing e-commerce strategies across Africa in industries such as ethical, luxury, fashion, coffee, agri-processing, tourism, and horticulture. Fiona is an accomplished award-winning digital transformation expert with a vast experience across Europe, Asia, Africa, and Australia, spanning private, public companies, startup, small, medium enterprises, that is SMEs, international development, UN agencies, and public sectors that include defense, utilities, and telecommunications. Fiona has worked with a diverse range of marketing technology and e-commerce technologies, including Shopify, Omnisend, Klaviyo, Marketo, Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and Oracle Eloqua. One interesting thing about Fiona is that she is a trained coffee barista. This is somebody with technical knowledge of coffee and other coffee shop products, which means she can prepare for you a very good cup of coffee, tailored to precision the way you would want it. So again, ladies and gentlemen, with our beautiful emojis, help me welcome Fiona Ngaruro. So Fiona, maybe you can just say hello to the viewers as we move on.
Thank you so much, Soni. Good morning, everybody. Really excited to be on this panel and looking forward to sharing information and learning from each one of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Fiona. Karibu sana. Over to
Can
our
I,
next.
hello?
Yes.
Sorry,
Yes.
I was on mute, so I wasn't able to introduce myself. My name is
Oh, yes,
McKenna.
McKenna. Welcome.
Yes, sorry for interrupting. My name is McKenna Mwiti, and I'm so excited to be part of this panel. I'm passionate when it comes to supporting women SMEs or overall SMEs, and I'm so looking forward to the discussion. And yes, that's a short introduction to myself. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, McKenna. Karibu sana. All right, so I will welcome our third speaker, who wears very many hats, and I'm very excited to have her today because she's part and parcel of the reason why we are all here together. So I want to welcome Frida Owinga. Frida is currently Regional Director for Africa, Regional Director for Africa for We Connect International. She leads strategic initiatives to amplify brand visibility, registrations, and certifications for members, buyers, and women-owned businesses across Africa at We Connect International. Frida is also the first African president of Organization of Women in International Trade, OWIT. She was literally the first African president of OWIT, a Washington-based nonprofit organization with chapters in North America, Africa, and Europe. She's dedicated to empowering women in international trade. Frida is also a leadership and enterprise development practitioner with over 2 decades of practical experience spanning various sectors and geographies. She is also a corporate learning facilitator, specializing in designing leadership development solutions to shape paradigms for peak performance and productivity. She is the founder of Passion Profit, which is a leadership development organization dedicated to fostering peak performance. She is also the founder of SME Founders Association, an entrepreneur's ecosystem supporting the creation of decent work by enhancing competence, compliance, and access to capital for African SMEs. She is a certified executive work-life coach, supporting corporate leaders to foster peak performance and to harmonize work and life for thriving success. The interesting thing that Frida likes to do is she likes to eat a lot. But there's something onto it. So as much as she really loves eating a lot, she loves eating that a lot in very luxurious hotels. So if at any one time you want to pull Frida into a discussion, make sure that you're booking her for a chat or an appointment in a very luxurious hotel. So again, with our very beautiful emojis, help me in welcoming Frida Owinga. It is quite an honor to have you here. Frida, karibu sana. Please let's welcome her with our emojis and allow her to say hello to us. Karibu
Good morning,
sana.
everyone.
Good morning.
Thank you very much, Sonny, and good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. So we are very quickly going to straight into the questions for today so that we get to know a little bit about the topic at hand and how as SMEs we can be supported in going in Africa and beyond in terms of growing our markets. So straight away, my first question will go to Fiona. So Fiona, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about what you do and just let us know how that relates to the topic of today. So very briefly, you can tell us that, Fiona. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So as mentioned, I'm the founder and lead consultant and trainer at Ecom Essentials. And so it's a consultancy that really works with businesses, SMEs and corporates who are looking to adopt e-commerce and get into the digital commerce arena. And so what we do at the consultancy is we run training sessions to raise awareness and around what's required to get into the e-commerce sector. And also we provide strategy and also implementation support for businesses as they start their journey or they optimize already existing e-commerce channels. Yes, and that's how this is the work that we do applies to this particular topic as businesses look beyond their borders. How can they adopt digital commerce and be prepared to access different markets? So looking forward to sharing more about that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So I will give an opportunity to McKenna to also tell us a little bit about what she does and how it relates to today's topic before we dig into the questions for the day. Welcome, McKenna.
Thank you, Sonny. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah, so my name is McKenna, as I already introduced myself. So I'm really passionate at working with SMEs and making sure that they're able to access all they need to do in business. I focus mainly on women-owned SMEs because they have specific challenges that are actually more than just being an SME. So I'm always looking for opportunities to support SMEs and MSMEs. I also have a background in banking, so that also gives me a good opportunity to even see what the challenges are and how they can be developed. So I'm sure I'll give you more information as the session goes. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much for that, McKenna. We welcome Frida. So Frida, please also just let us know how everything that you do, maybe you can hear it from you and how it ties to today's topic. Over
Thank you
to
very much, Sonny. Thank you. I do leadership and enterprise development, and my key goal is to help you turn your passion into profit. Profit is not necessarily in money only. Profit is what influence do you bring to the table? What is the impact of it in the society? With those two, you'll definitely generate some revenue because you are solving people's problems. So I like to say I do one thing in multiple spaces. I help people turn their passion into profit, and I'm a leadership and enterprise development professional. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Frida. So I know that now everybody knows our panelists, what they do, and how you can start thinking around the questions that you would have for them. So very quickly, I go back to Fiona, and my question would be, SMEs desire to scale and want to access markets in Africa and beyond, but most of them do not know how to go about it. So my question to you would be, how would you go about the whole idea of wanting to go into other countries to ensure that there's brand recognition, you're addressing the distribution challenges, and you're also tackling the cultural nuances that could be barriers for you to get through. So what does that process look like of wanting to go to another country? What do you need to do in terms of what are the factors that you will need to consider as you purpose to go beyond Kenya? So over to you, Fiona.
Yeah, thank you, Sonny. When SMEs or entrepreneurs are looking to go beyond markets, the first thing that is really necessary to do is do market research. Market research is really important in order to understand, number one, the target audience. Who is your target audience in that market? What are their preferences? What are their what's their age? What's their gender? How do they like to communicate or to be communicated to? Secondly, the research needs to include understanding the market as a whole. Is there demand for your product? You may be wanting to export pineapples to Ghana, but maybe there's no demand for pineapples. So maybe Ghana is not your best market. So it's important to do market research as well to understand, the export potential and the demand for your product. The next thing is also to research things like the cultural nuances. As we always love to say, Africa is not a country. We are all so different. The way Kenyans like specific types of foods or flavors and how to be talked to is very different to how someone, even in Tanzania, our neighbors are very different. You can imagine now going into West Africa, North Africa, you need to understand the different tolerance levels and so on, and cultural nuances. I'll give a great example of a project that I was part of with the International Trade Center, which is a UN organization that is really focused on global trade. So I'd worked on a project with them in the specialty coffee sector. And what we were doing there was coaching coffee growers in Kenya who were growing specialty coffee to export to the international market. As mentioned, I love coffee, and for other coffee lovers out there, specialty coffee is a very unique, high-grade coffee. It's not your commodity coffee that is, sold at the auction. So this is a coffee that has a very discerning type of audience who you need to really understand. And so when I was part of this project, one of the things that we wanted to impart to the coffee growers as they were looking to export out to the other markets is understand your audience. Your audience want to know, how is this coffee grown? Tell me the story of how this coffee is grown from A to B. How is it processed? Are there any chemicals? Is it fully organic, certified organic? Or are you just claiming to be, organic? There's a term called greenwashing. A lot of discerning consumers want to know, are you actually certified organic? The other thing is knowing about your community. How are you impacting your community? Are you growing, are the women who are working in your farm, is it impacting women and youth and so on? So it was really an interesting project working with the coffee growers, letting them know that specialty coffee consumers out in the export markets really need to know this information. And so doing research and knowing that about the end consumer help them to know how to package their product so that it's successful when they do export it to the global market. As I mentioned, International Trade Center, ITC, have some amazing tools out there, because I know doing research can seem very daunting for SMEs. And so one tool that I would love to recommend is called the Global Help Desk. So this tool has all export products you could ever imagine. So let's say you are in Kenya and you want to export to Australia, for example, and you want to export leather bags. You can go in there and put in leather bags and you want to export to Australia. And this tool will give you information about, the export potential. Is there demand for your product? What are the regulations that you need to have prepared so that you can export successfully? What are the tariffs that you will encounter when you do export? Who are the shipping partners that you can contact, to ship your products? So, this is a great tool that can help with that research element. And the last thing that I would like to discuss that you talked about was the brand recognition side of things. As you go to different markets, you need to create a very strong brand. And I know a lot of people think brand is just, the logos, but brand is actually made up of 3 key components. Number 1 is brand strategy. And brand strategy is really around understanding, the why behind your product, the vision and the mission. The what, what are you selling? Being very clear about what you're selling and packaging it effectively. Understanding who you're selling it to, your target audience, as I mentioned. Then the second part about brand is your brand identity. And this is, the logo that we mentioned. Like, what is your symbol gonna be? When you're out in the market, how will people recognize you? What's that symbol? Your brand colors and your tone of voice. And then lastly, the last element of brand is your brand management. How will you ensure that you have consistency about consistency of your brand across different touch points? Touch points, I mean, if you're in e-commerce, how will your brand show up? If you're on Instagram, how will your brand show up? If you're doing packaging, how will your brand show up? So again, when you're thinking about going out into markets, you need to think about all these different components, because you're going to a global stage where it's a lot more competitive. I'll stop there, and of course, we can explore this topic a bit more. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Fiona. You have mentioned quite a number of key things here. We are talking research. We are talking understanding the market that you want to go to, whether your product can be a good fit, researching around the cultural issues. We've also given us a very good tool. That is the Global Help Desk, where you can be able to go and find out how or where you can start as you move along. And you've also given us great nuggets around how we can deal with our brand strategy, brand identity, and brand management. Thank you very much. So I will take the second question to McKenna. So McKenna, maybe you can just tell us a little bit about how SMEs deal with some of the major challenges that they have now today, as far as wanting to, go beyond Africa. For example, we have very many SMEs who could be here in the audience today that are really struggling as far as access to finance is concerned, based on the fact that they need support when they want to go to Africa or beyond. So they may need support in areas such as market research, product adaptation, and export financing. So the question becomes, how would you advise the SMEs as far as financing is concerned? And what opportunities and options do they have out there to combat this financing challenge? Over to you, McKenna.
Thank you, Sonny. Just confirming that you can all hear me?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. So in terms of the challenges women face access to finance, I know when we think about access to finance on its own, it kind of like isolates what needs to be done. So for example, if you look at financing, when it comes to access to finance, one of the things that really hinder women in access financing is the fact that they are not able to get the right product and service. We're now seeing a lot of discussion towards moving now towards women's entrepreneurship and youth entrepreneurship, because that's what the data says. The data says that's where the problems and issues are. And then the data also says that they need specific tailor-made programs for them. So for example, if we look at alternative ways of financing, because everyone just thinks about access to finance, when we look at it, we find that most of these organizations like bank are moving more onto cash flow lending, because now they're looking at how do we get a credit history for the SME. So say McKenna, I'm an SME and I'm really wanting to export or import goods. And at the same time, I need to make sure that I have what it takes. So one of the things that we'd really start working on with the banks is cash flow lending. And here what we're saying is that lending does not just, collateral is not just land and properties. We're seeing a number of banks in the region moving now to specific programs that will address SMEs. So one of the things I'd also advise them is that they need to begin to develop your credit history. People, when they hear credit history, they run away from it. But actually what credit history does for you, it provides a history on how you've been performing when it comes to lending. Banks want to see evidence of other accounts that were done. Banks want to see why you think your business is going to succeed. So they'll ask you for that. And I mean, this is always being connected, especially when you go lower to MSME. But entrepreneurs just need to understand how this is going to actually help them access financial evidence. And then the other thing I wanted to do is, when we think about lending only, you only think about banks, yeah? We only think about commercial banks. But the actual, it's difficult just to focus on banks because there are other players in the market. We have the fintechs, we have the microfinance institutions, we have the banks, we have the SACCOs. So the whole idea is to make sure that you're able to attract lending from there. So in terms of, yes, attract lending from there. So it's interesting because I worked with a bank in Nigeria. It's called Access Bank. And what they did in their SME banking, especially for women, it was trying to look at alternative collateral. So they were actually taking things like jewelry, because they have a lot of jewelry there. They would take the jewelry, they'd leave it at the bank, ask for money. Once they pay, then they'll got back the information. So these are the innovations that we're seeing when it comes to access to credit. Then the other thing I just wanted to say is record keeping, building the relationship with the bank. Yeah. Go to the bank, find out what they're doing. A number of banks are lending to women specifically. We see banks like EcoBank that is doing a lot of work in the women. We see the She account with ABSA. We see the KCB with Flame. We see the EcoBank with Elevate. So there are all these products that are there for women, which are tailored to their needs. So one of the things I'd advise the SMEs also in this call is to actually start just taking those informations, be bold as you present your presentation, and then also have proof that you have paid a loan that was one of the loans that you paid, because once you pay another loan, then they're going to go back into the credit history and say, yeah, McKenna actually paid and she was on time and there was no delinquency. So we can actually look at her when it comes to lending. And then the other thing I wanted to say is the whole issue around supply side and demand side. You find out when you're looking at the supply side, we're looking now at the people who are where you can access finance side. And then the demand side is looking at the women and SMEs that are actually taking the demand. They're actually saying what they want to do. So this is really critical, especially in our organization, in the banking. For example, if I was working in the bank, I'd give them access to finance, and you find that it's not just finance. It is finance, but there's access to markets, access to information, access to knowledge. So you find that when the SME come, they should be in, when you're going to the financial institutions, you should have this kind of framework to support the women. And if it's not within you to have the framework, then you look at other financial institutions who are working with women and see how we can work better. So I think I've answered the question. Did you need any more information, Sonny?
Yeah, no. That was quite sufficient, McKenna. And I think she has really given us some really other different ways in which you can look at financing, but just making sure that nowadays, the language has changed a little bit. You can look at cash flow lending. She's mentioned that. You need to develop your credit history. Lending is beyond commercial banks, so look into other alternatives like SACCOs and fintechs. Build relationships with banks, ensure your records are well kept. And she was looking at both the sides of supply and demand side. So very great aspects and insights that she's bringing about, and I hope this is useful. So as we move along, please make sure you put your questions on the chat. We will get to them with time as we keep the discussion moving. So I have a question for you, Frida. And mostly I have heard you say several times that you feel that people should, SMEs should establish themselves locally first before they prepare to go to Africa and beyond. So my question to you would be, what details establishing yourself first locally, and why is that important? Frida.
Thank you very much, Tony. It's important because every time you meet somebody, even just locally, people tend to want to know, where have you done this before? Who have you done it for? So it builds your credibility. So as SMEs, we have a good opportunity to establish at home first by being compliant. Being compliant, you're formally registered, you have a website, your taxes are in order, your legislation is in order, and your legislation is in order in terms of going to BRS, Business Registration Services, ensuring that your file returns are done. The entire compliance bit, because when you start going abroad, they're going to ask you for those documents. So it's important to be prepared sooner than later. Technically, we are all out there in the world, because the minute you have a website, it is the World Wide Web, all right? So you're out there. So you need to be established at home in terms of you have sales, you have stories, you have credentials you can show that I've been actually doing this. And if people come to your website or your social media spaces and can see other people you have worked with telling their stories, that is very powerful.
Thank you very much, Frida. So the whole idea is build credibility at home first by following all those elements that he has talked about around compliance and making sure that you have stories locally before you can imagine yourself going beyond Kenya. And I think that is very, very, very key in terms of if you're planning to go to Africa and beyond. Yeah, so very quickly, I have another question for Fiona. So I will go back to Fiona. Yeah, so Fiona, the question that I have for you is around maybe something different we want to look at right now around e-commerce. So as an e-commerce specialist, tell us a little bit about the digital economy and the emerging opportunities in that space that SMEs can take advantage of, or maybe that SMEs can leverage to get access to markets in Africa and beyond. You could also maybe talk about some risks that could be involved when people want to go digital and maybe how they can mitigate that. Yeah, so over to you, Fiona. You can tell us more.
Yeah, thanks, Sonny. So this question really builds upon what Frida said about being properly established before you go out to bigger markets. It's very exciting and lucrative to grow yourself and your markets, but it's really important to have set yourself up and have the right structures. So when it comes to e-commerce, many people and many SMEs and corporates who I work with, ask me, hey, can I, set me up on e-commerce? And many people understand e-commerce just to be the website, that just put me on the website and all will be well. However, I always like to zoom out and let them know e-commerce is made up of an ecosystem. And in order to be successful with e-commerce, you need to have set yourself up across the whole ecosystem of e-commerce. So when I talk about the ecosystem, what I'm talking about is, number one, the first pillar of that ecosystem is understanding your business model or your business strategy. So this goes back to the research side of things, is ensure that you really understand your market, you understand your audience, and you understand your business model. Your business model being, how are you going to make money? Are you going to be selling your products, make money via sales or via subscriptions or via commissions? For example, we've talked about the market, who are you going to be serving, and what products are you going to be selling? So getting very clear about your strategy is very, very important. Now, the next pillar is the choosing the right technology. So, for e-commerce, you can either decide to sell on a standalone website, create your own website, or you can decide to list on a marketplace, like, for example, AliExpress, eBay, and so on. Or you can decide to sell through Instagram or sell through WhatsApp. You need to go on a journey to figure out what is the right technology for your kind of business, given the products that you're selling and given the maturity of your business. So that's the second pillar that you need to consider when you're thinking about e-commerce. The next one is around marketing. So marketing is a very important component of e-commerce, because it's great to set up your business and have a website, but you need to be able to talk to your consumer and let them know who you are and sell effectively. So once you've done your research about your consumer, you can then figure out what are the best marketing channels that you can use to amplify your brand and your product and your products. So choosing the right channels, is it going to be Instagram that you're going to be doing your ads on? Are you going to be doing, broadcast messages? Are you going to do search marketing and so on? So that's another pillar that you need to prepare for as an entrepreneur when you're thinking about e-commerce. And also a content strategy. What are you going to be saying on these different marketing channels? You need to have thought through that as well. The other pillar is payments. Payments is a huge, crucial link for your e-commerce strategy. Because again, how are you going to be receiving payments? You need to be able to provide your consumers with different types of payment methods. Are they going to pay via M-Pesa? Are they going to pay via other mobile money options within their countries, or are they going to use card? You need to think about how you're going to do that, because you don't want to do all the amazing work to set up your shop and then, not have the right payment solution and you miss out on a sale. So thinking through, the payment structure and your payment offering is also really important. Then you have logistics. The next pillar is your logistics and your warehousing. How are you going to get your products to your consumer in a good amount of time? With e-commerce, it's all about the turnaround time and your promise to your customer. Do you have a reliable delivery service? And have you used them before, and have they been able to meet your expectations? Have they been able to make your products arrive in good condition? Because again, with e-commerce, there's no human interaction. A consumer is betting on the fact that what you said on your website is what they're going to receive. So you need to ensure that you have a very solid logistics and delivery service as well. And then the last pillar in this ecosystem is your after-sales service and your customer service. Really, really important to ensure that you have customer service that is reliable and that consumers can call up a number that does work. Because again, trust is a huge currency when it comes to e-commerce. And as you go into larger markets, you'll find that consumers are way more demanding, they're way less tolerant, and the competition is very stiff. So if you don't provide a good service, there's someone else who is going to be your competitor, who's going to gain your customer because you have not set these up. So it's really important as you venture out into a bigger market that you have all those pillars set up when you think about e-commerce. And just on the question about risk, as I mentioned, the global market, it's very competitive, and you need to have all these processes watertight. So as I mentioned with the example about customer service, you need to ensure that you have like a 24/7 customer service strategy. Now, I don't mean that you need to, employ staff to be available 24/7, but think through, how can you have maybe an email address that people can email if they have a question when, your shop is closed during working hours here in Kenya. And then, of course, how are you going to ensure that you turn around that email query in a good enough time, let's say within 24 hours, and you actually keep to your promise? Secondly, have a phone number or WhatsApp line that actually works. Because again, as I mentioned, trust is a big currency when it comes to e-commerce. So those would be some of the things that I would impress upon, entrepreneurs who are looking to get into e-commerce on a global stage. And when it comes to emerging opportunities, I think you had asked me about emerging opportunities as well. One of the big things that I would highlight is ChatGPT and generative AI. So I think I hope everyone at least has had a chance to explore ChatGPT. I think it's an amazing innovation that has come to help us entrepreneurs and SMEs. Reason being is, as SMEs and small businesses, we are handling so many different parts of our business. We are the business development manager, we're the supply chain manager, we're the marketer, and so on. However, marketing is a very important part of running your business. And sometimes it can be very hard to figure out how do you create a content strategy, a marketing strategy, and so on. And so ChatGPT is a real game changer in terms of helping SMEs to create marketing content in less than 5 minutes. So I would encourage SMEs on this call to explore ChatGPT and how it can also help you with your marketing and to create content for you, so that this is not one element of your business that you're struggling with and that you fail to do, although it's really crucial when you go into the global market. Thank you.
Wow. I think that is quite some good and very, very detailed elements that would really guide an entrepreneur in terms of if they want to get into e-commerce. So I think those are really great nuggets. I'm still looking out to see whether there are any questions. We will pack them and then be able to answer them as we move along. But those were really great nuggets, Fiona. The whole system up until making sure that the after-sales service makes sense for your clients, and also taking advantage of AI which is the most recent technology. Thank you very much, Fiona. So I will go back to Makena. And Makena, the question that I have for you, we can move it to a different angle, is we have the stories like, for example, we've had recently in the news, we had the Vivo Fashions, which is one of the businesses in Kenya who have stores in Kenya, Rwanda, Uganda, and recently got into the United States, Atlanta to be specific. And as they went there, we were told that they carried other Kenyan businesses, you know, other women-led Kenyan brands like Equator Holdings Limited, Anjiru, Idera. This is essential, and the Soko to showcase and sell their products in-store American consumers. So based on a story like that one, what really happened, or how is a business able to get to that level? Maybe you can just tell us a little bit about how our businesses can get to that level, and what are the learnings based on the fact that this is a Kenyan story and a Kenyan example. What are the learnings, as in how did that happen? And what can other SMEs learn from, you know, stories like those ones? Over to you, Makena.
Thank you so much, Sonny. Before I go to that question, there's something I really want to explain.
Yes.
You know, there's always this, you know, premission that, you know, the large multilaterals are just not serious about lending to SMEs. They want to focus on SMEs that are much higher in terms of their turnover. But what I'm seeing now is that it's kind of like the tide is changing, because now what we're seeing now is organizations like African Development Bank, who are now lending banks the money to be able to serve the SME market. An example, the African Credit Fund, AGF, is set up by African Development Bank, and they have a fund for SMEs. So they want to reach out to SMEs. The first one is the African Finance Action for Women, AFAWA. So this focuses on 3 areas: access to entrepreneurship and the African Guarantee Fund. So the fund actually gives a guarantee. So if you go there and you want to lend money or borrow money, the fund actually acts as a guarantee. So how does this actually come down to the SMEs on the ground and the small and medium enterprises? Through partnerships. So for example, African Guarantee Fund has signed a partnership with Kenya Women Finance Trust. So that's just a way of showing that this money is actually accessible. You just need to have knowledge, and you just need to have information in terms of how you can get there. And you find even these organizations are always looking for women. You know, whenever I go there, they're like, Makena, where are the women? We want to lend to the women. Where are they? Are they worthy of our credit? So this is now what we're seeing now is like, okay, we need to actually make our programs, and that now comes to the supply side, so that we know what exactly is happening. Vivo is an excellent story. Excellent story. I know Wandia Gashiru really well, and the issue about how the Vivo brand is like all over the world is such an interesting story. So one of the things that one of the ways I think that they were able to achieve this, how did that happen and other SMEs learn from this? I think the most important thing about Vivo was the brand. They have a consistent brand identity. And what you find is that if the brands maintain a consistent identity, for example, let's look at Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is globally recognized, yet it adapts its messaging to local cultures without diluting its core values. So the brand, I'm sure you're everywhere you go and see the Vivo brand. They're always also, you know, on what is it called, where they share the latest information that they have, the latest designs that they have. And you know what? Data shows that consistent branding can increase revenue by 23%. So that's one thing I know they've done really well. The other thing, the other thing that they have been able to do was to leverage technology, yeah? And just like, they've learned to leverage technology, which is also in their favor. And then the other thing that they've done is that they have a really good way of localization of the strategies, you know, so the content and the products fit the cultural and linguistic content of each. So they've been really good at localization of strategies. And I think this has really been helpful in terms of the market and how they know Vivo. And then the other one, which is also the last one I want to talk about, is this whole area of building community and engagement. And you find that brands can build lasting legacies by fostering community engagement. So, and working like that and just be able to do that. Then the other thing about brands is that if I just move it again to my area, access to finance or access to markets, one of the things, like you said, they're actually now selling in the US. They just opened a branch in the US. You find that, sorry, excuse me. You find that, so you find that other SMEs can learn from that. And I think what Vivo has also done is they've been able to look at the complete invention, not like to call invention. So they're starting their business. They did not just focus on access to finance. There was a whole element also just building the brand, the products, and just giving them that opportunity to go there. And then the last thing is, just the stamina and the courage and the drive to be able to create a product like that. It's not easy. It's not easy, but when you keep pushing, you find that Vivo has done really well. And what excites me about Vivo, like you said, it's actually taking on. It's not just developing a brand for themselves. They've also got like the limited companies you talked about. So the sharing, knowledge sharing, working together, partnerships, that's another area Vivo has done really well. Funding, you see an organization like that is a huge organization. So you need all those things that we've been talking about. Yeah, so one thing I think about when I look at SMEs, they always feel like they don't deserve it or they can never reach that limit like Vivo. But I think it's just consistency, just walking a step every day, just making sure that you keep your networks, you keep your partnerships, you keep your financial institutions as partners. So it becomes like you're saying, we all move together. But that support, what really makes me happy about Vivo is that they're not just joining they're enjoying their success. They're also pulling everybody with them. And then I think that really gives the SMEs comfort. And you say, you know what, I can also build this and it'll be successful and it'll be regional and it'll be national, as in start at home, expand, make sure you have the right partners, make sure you have the right mentors and coaches who are able to take you to that level.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, McKenna. You put it very, very well. The thing I would just like to do in terms of a follow-up is there are banks that you are mentioning. I was not able to really put them down. Maybe you can just give us those the names of those banks that you were mentioning, the ones that fund women. You talked about ADB, AFAWA. We missed it a little bit.
Okay, so you want an example of the banks, yeah?
Or you could maybe just type them. Let us be able to see them on the chat.
Okay, but just quickly, the one that's really doing well in this front is the She account with ABSA.
Oh,
and then we have Elevate from EcoBank. Then we have Dada from Stanbic.
Elevate and Dada.
Okay,
all right. I think I'll put those
and
down.
KCB Flame, M-Flame.
Okay. All right. With that said, I think we can, I have a few other questions let me go to Frida. So Frida, I have a question that maybe follows up on what McKenna was talking about, especially around collaborations. Yeah, so on the issue of collaborations, how can SMEs come together to make it easier to access markets as a block rather than trying to go it alone? So this speaks to the fact that there's SMEs maybe in manufacturing or agriculture who produce a lot of products but are not aware of how to access markets beyond their own local community. So maybe you can tell us more about that and probably just give us examples of, if you want those collaborations, the partnerships, where do you go as an SME? Are there bodies that are available that support? Over to you, Frida.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Sonny. It's interesting that People have been collaborating for a long time, but I guess it's an individual decision that I don't want to walk alone. So I make some effort to find out what are the existing bodies that are out there. And today we are privileged because we have the internet. You can Google networks, and then you can visit these network websites. You can visit the locations and see if, they're a good fit with what you're trying to find, what you're trying to do. So I believe we're living in an age of information, and one place to start, I'm going to share some, but I'm also, I like what McKenna said, that sometimes SMEs will feel, well, yeah. So there's information, my friends, and the first place is Google. Google is your friend. Ask Google, then go and visit the association or the network. Don't listen to the stories of the people there. Ask if they're complaining that this thing doesn't work, ask to meet with the board members, find out where the organization exists, find out how you can plug in. If it is a good fit, join. I find that we have this crowd mentality. We hear what other people say and we embrace it as truth without finding our own facts. So my biggest challenge to entrepreneurs out there is, number one, do your own research, like Fiona told us. And this research is easy. Go to Google, find out the existing networks in Kenya, in Africa, which ones are aligned with your vision and mission. Many times we want to join organizations because we think the organization will propel us. An organization cannot propel you. An organization can only propel you if your vision is aligned to the programs that they are doing. All right, so that I just want to put out there that is critical. So as an SME, you have a good opportunity to collaborate with others by showing up and participating in networks. So find out the network you can join, cultivate relationships, and then start collaborative efforts. At WeConnect, we train and connect. We do 4 things. We identify, train, certify, and connect women. Many times a woman wants to certify and get a bid the next day, but the community has other women you can network with. The community has other information that you can get if you log into the portal. People rarely log into the portal to learn, and I guess people learn in different ways. So I think the biggest thing is the SME to be intentional, to be proactive, to participate, and to never give up. So some of the networks out there, of course, WeConnect. WeConnect is for women. We empower women to connect them to corporate bids. And how that happens is we get you certified. And before we're getting you certified by having you put your, set up your documents online, in Kenya, we are starting a program where we get you certified to connect you to supply chains based on what our member buyer needs are. So that is an opportunity. I find many times we just want to be like, I'm a trainer, but if there's an opportunity in technical thing, I say, no, I'm not trained in that, I can't do it. I can, because I can collaborate with others, all right? So we need to be more aware. We need to be more, we need to be more aware, and we need to be critically intentional about what we want to achieve. Then we'll begin to see who can we connect with, who can we work with. We take time to cultivate those relationships. So that we connect, we certify you, then we connect you. The certification is global, multinational organizations. Currently, we are working with multinational organizations to see what are the supply categories they need, and then we certify people in those categories. Don't disqualify yourself. You could have a friend or somebody you can come up with and plug into those supply chains, because these are huge, tenders, all right? So don't limit yourself. So WeConnect International. The other one is SME Founders Association. SME Founders Association will provide learning and linkages. You can learn and you can get linkages through the peers and associates within here. The other one is, of course, I've said WeConnect is OWIT, Organization of Women in International Trade. We foster international trade and the advancement of women in business. There's one in Kenya. There's 9 African countries and about 26 other locations. So that is another one. Of course, there is the Business Networking International. If you want referrals, that is a good place to be. There's the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce. Now, all these there's Andy, Aspen Network of Development Entrepreneurs. All these organizations will require some investment. So be willing to do the research, Find out which organization has programs and resources that your organization needs, and then make the investment to join. Once you make the investment to join, participate. If there's something they do in a WhatsApp group, participate in the WhatsApp group. If they have physical events, show up, make friends, ask questions, participate. Because also many times people pay for these associations, but they don't participate. Then they say the association doesn't work. The association only gives you a framework and a structure to engage. If you don't follow it, it will not work. So it is a two-way street. I guess those are the ones I can think of from off my head right now. I give it back to you, Sonny. Thank you.
That is awesome. That is awesome. We have names here. We have SME founders, OIT, BNI. But the whole idea that Frida is saying is that it is a two-way process. The organization gives you the framework and structure, but you are the one to participate and be intentional to get the help that you require. So maybe just a follow-up question to wrap up the discussion, and then we can go into the Q&A session, is what is the role of mentorship in trying to connect SMEs to other markets? What is the role of mentorship and capacity building?
Mentorship is critical. Mentorship is critical, but again, it is the initiative of the founder, the initiative of the entrepreneur, being self-aware. What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Which are the areas that I need help in? And then finding spaces where you can contribute the value of your strength while you receive the value of your weakness. Again, I find sometimes people looking for mentorship try to act helpless. Like, you know, they find a mentor and then mentor becomes everything and everything. No. A mentor is just another human being like you who has perhaps gone ahead of you, but you can also be a reverse mentor. There's some things your mentor might know that you need. So let's not be helpless in this mentorship situation. Let us create a structure of how we can be mentored and also how we can give value to the person mentoring us, because everybody has an aspiration, everybody has a need, no matter the level they are at. So don't look at this person like somebody I need to look up to help me, and you have nothing to do for them. Then the relationship can become abusive. They can ask you to babysit their children. They can, you know, when I was growing up, I had somebody that I wanted to mentor me and they started making me babysit. And I do not like babies, even though I have 3 children. So I was like, no, this is not what I want. So that is what taught me that I structure, I'd like you to mentor me. These are the things that I'd like from you. What do you think about it? How can we make it work? So I'm not babysitting. I'm not carrying your bag. No, we are in a profitable, productive relationship where I tell you what I want to learn from you. You let me know how that can happen. So like when I mentor people, they serve in the areas that I serve and I give them feedback. So it's not about carrying my bag and going to events with me, but this is all very personal. And as entrepreneurs, we need to be more conscious and cognizant about what we want and how we can also contribute value, because we are all very valuable. We should not be helpless at somebody who we feel has gone ahead of us. You too, you have gone ahead of somebody. And it's not about going ahead. It's just about being conscious of the value you carry, being willing to contribute it at the level you are, even as you receive. After all, we have been told that giving it's better to give than to receive, because everything we give has potential to come back to us, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Kwa hayo machache, I give it back to you, Sonny.
Awesome, awesome. Awesome nuggets. You know, there's so much wisdom, so much we have learned today. And I think it would be great to just open up now the floor for Q&A. I'm trying to look at what is on the chat in terms of questions. Sorry, Frida. And the very first one here is for Fiona. So Florence Gashara has asked, do you train e-commerce? Where do you learn, especially how to market online? So that is probably something that she wants to know, how she's heard from you, but you know, how do we go about it? Over to you, Fiona.
Yeah, thank you so much, Florence, for your question. Yes, as I mentioned earlier, so I run a consultancy that does provide training for businesses that are looking to get into e-commerce. So if you'd like to inquire about training, you can find me on LinkedIn, Fiona Ngaruro. You can, send me a request, send me a message, and also on my LinkedIn, you'll find a website, a link to my website where you can also put an inquiry. Yeah, maybe let's start there. But there's a lot of content and information out, on the internet. A lot of great places you can get courses. But yeah, maybe reach out and we can take it from there.
All right. Probably you could also type how they can get to you there on the chat. So thank you, Florence. I hope she has answered your question. The other question I think would be more for McKenna. You talked about credit to women apart from the banks. So apart from the ABSAs and the other banks, which other institutions would offer credit to women?
Sorry. So in terms of institutions that would provide financial services, right now what we're seeing is the banks. Yeah, the banks are actually trying to get into this space. And then the other one we're seeing is microfinance. Again, looking at specific, you find that microfinance already has a good percentage of women, so they're more approachable. And then I want to take us back to KWT, which is also a good area. SACCOs are good because they lend you money based on your deposits. So that's quite good, and the processes are very quick. Yeah, so that's what I'd have said. SACCOs, MFIs, equity. And then I just want to mention one thing. There's a gender bond. So the examples of where the bonds now are specific to gender, those are really upcoming quickly. I know Tanzania, they have NMB Bank, which actually had the biggest offering for the gender bond. Yeah, so that would be the main issue, the main organizations. So it's just like I said, and also just to add to Frida's list, you should just make sure that you have these things, you take the initiative. The other one I also want to talk about is the 2X challenge. Again, this is I know Frida is very well versed in this. So the 2X challenge, this provides women in developing country markets with access to learning opportunities, quality employment, finance, enterprise support, and products that serve and enhance economic participation. Yeah, so get yourself out there. If you get if you're exposed to any programs that are funded by IFC, ADB, just go. I mean, there's no need to do, because most times you'll be like, oh no, this is not for me. But you will be surprised. When you see those institutions, you will be surprised, because now you begin to know what's in the market. And the most amazing thing for me is if you get into that space, it only means that your business is going to grow, because the opportunities are immense. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Sunny.
Yeah, thank you. I hope we got that. So she talked about microfinance, SACCOs, mentioned the gender bonds, and many other institutions. You just have to search and make sure you follow up and find out where. The other question we have here is from Grace Nzo. Grace, she's actually asked two questions. The first one is, where can I find credible mentors, or how can I identify a mentor? Leveraging on the same, I think she just defined it more, is where can I find training or mentorship on how to prepare my business for scaling? Maybe this one is for you, Frida.
Hi, Grace. It will really depend on what you do. I wish you could unmute and say what you do or put it in the chat, because it's, like I said earlier, it's important to understand your vision, then you can align with the appropriate stakeholders. Without knowing your vision, like I've just shared my myriad of organizations, all those organizations provide mentoring, but it would be good to know, what do you do? And what kind of mentorship are you looking for? Yes, you're looking to scale your business. What does your business do? Is that something you'd like to share with us? Can you unmute and tell us? Or in just random I can give you random answers. You can go to AMI. AMI has a structured learning program. AMI is Africa Management Institute, all right? You can, depending on the business you do, WeConnect can help you. Again, also depending on the stage of business you are in, SME Founders Association can help you. So there are many organizations, but if I know what kind of mentorship you're looking for, I see your hand is up. Are you
Yeah.
trying to speak? You
She
can
can,
speak,
she can
Grace.
say, yeah, go ahead.
Right. Thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Grace Nzo, and I run a media company. We do live streaming and digital PR. That's what we do. And so my vision here is, what has happened is we've run the company for 13 years now. And over the 13 years, we've been able to master a lot of things. Like, we offer quality productions. We now get very good referrals, and business is doing well, if I can say that. So I feel we are ready to scale up, moving from just being a production company into a TV station. I see an opportunity with that in that right now, in that space, but also serve more clients in Africa because of the digital PR aspect. We already are serving clients internationally, but I'd like to get more regional. That's my vision, basically. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Grace. If I could ask you another direct question, can you tell us 3 things that you're looking for, or 3 areas you're looking to grow, or 3 areas you feel you need mentorship? Have you defined those?
Yes, I have. Yes. Sorry. I need mentorship on how to grow, or rather so first, operations. I need mentorship on operations within the media industry, because our industry is very heavy in terms of labor, and you must coordinate very well if you're going to succeed. That is one of the areas that I need. So operations specifically, I'm talking about human resource, because we do have the production technical aspect taken care of. So human resource in terms of, how do I get people to stay with us, and how do we identify good people that stay with us, etc. How do we make sure that we take care of them? The other part is just financial. How do I make sure that we make the money, like the money we are making, we use it to grow, So we may borrow, yes, but we already are making money, and we need to use it to grow, not to do other things. That's what I am trying to do. And then the other thing is just how to make sure that I am not the one doing everything. Like, I stopped becoming a business person. I want the company to be able to run without me for a long time. Now we can do well for 1 or 2 days. 3 days doesn't work.
Okay. Thank you very much, Grace. The first place I think you should look for mentorship, if there's a media association, I encourage you to join that. And then there's the International School of Advertising, run by Susan. That could also be a good place for you. And then in terms of you yourself, how you want to grow so that you're not the one that is doing everything, SME Founders Association would be a good place for you. Because there you get an access to a pool of talent, and the pool of talent is through professional associations. So we are going to see, what do you need? Is it an HR you need, or is it an executive coach you need? It will be clear when we do a diagnosis on you. So.
Right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you, Grace.
Thank you, Grace.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you, Frida. There you have it. So media, International School of Advertising, or join SME Founders. Yes, so anybody else with a question, please, you're free to open up your mic, put up your hand, and we ask any of our panelists. I do not see any other questions. All right, there's... Oh, all right, Frida was just putting that in. There's Nora Mboya. Nora Mboya, you're free to unmute and ask the question.
Okay, I'm sorry, I lost a connection for a bit, so I'm not sure whether this has been addressed. But I know there's a lot of work that goes to prepare women into getting financing. The thing about banking, and banking, I'm also a former banker, they have a lot of red tape. So what happens is you turn up and you feel like you're ready, and they turn you down, mostly because I'm glad many banks are going the women banking way, but still there's a lot of issues around getting financing from banking. So my question is, do we have people that prepare women to get investor ready or to get funding? Because that seems, in all the meetings that I go to, that seems to be the bone of contention for many women businesses. Thank you.
All right. I think that would be a question for McKenna, or anyone else can pick that up.
Okay, let me go first. Yeah, you're so right about banks being very difficult. There's a lot of red tape. There's, issues around collateral. But what we're seeing now is that banks are really now trying to serve the women SMEs. They know that this is a profitable market. So it's not a matter of, oh, poor women, let's serve them. No, this is a profitable sector. They have enough skills when it comes to lending. So what we're seeing right now is banks now actually going in that direction. And that's why they're coming up with specific programs for women. The other thing that is also happening is that we're looking more, access to finance is really important, don't get me wrong. But what's happening now, you find even financial institutions are coming in for training. They have their products. If you look at the women's products, it's not just a product, it's not just a bank account. When you join, you have this whole issue around networking and mentoring, which Frida has explained very well. So you find that it's not just banks, it's just not money anymore, yeah? So if you go, they'll give you a whole program and tell you, okay, and ABSA is very good at this, they do a lot of training for women, and you find all these banks that have products for women, that means they seriously want to get into this sector. So my advice will be to go and visit the banks that have products for women, tell them about your products. They have targets. The banks have targets in terms of women entrepreneurs and youth entrepreneurs. So you have a good chance of actually getting the credit. And if it's not available, or if they don't have any services for women, just continue to grow your business. 2X challenge is one I talked about in terms of partnering with banks. There's or even MFIs, but the one I really like is the Kenya Women's Finance Trust with Africa Guarantee Fund. So that one is a new Kenya Women's Trust Fund, works on across the board, yeah, and they're specific to women only. So yeah, my advice will be that. And even when we're going to see these banks, they will ask for issues like we've talked about, collateral, with us cash flow lending. Just be ready. Just be ready with your proposal. Be ready in terms of what your market will look like. Again, going back to this holistic completion that I always say, access to finance is just one spoke in the wheel. You have also access to markets, organizations there, for example, Trademark, that is working with the women across the borders. They give them all this certification when it comes to products. So yeah, just get out there, go and see what people are doing, link up with different people who are in that bank. And yeah, and then the bank will be able to give you feedback, especially if they have a specific desk for women and business, because they want to grow that. So they will also find that they have to grow their portfolio, and they need to get profitable women of business. Yeah, that's where I'd leave it at.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think that answer was sufficient. We can still explore it more. But in the interest of time, I think we are 3 minutes to 1. I will just give an opportunity to each panelist to just take it home, leave us with a parting shot so that we can wrap it up and maybe call it a day. So we can start with Fiona.
Thank you very much. Thanks again for the opportunity to be on this panel and share some amazing information and to learn from everyone. So I would say my parting shot would be, number one is the research element. As businesses, we all exist to solve a consumer problem. And if we're not understanding our consumer, and then we are shooting ourselves in the foot. So I'll just give you another example, as Sonny mentioned, coffee. I love coffee. So I'll give you another coffee example. So I used to live in Australia, and at some point in the early 2000s, Starbucks, I'm sure you've heard of Starbucks, the big coffee brand from the US. Starbucks entered the Australian market, thinking that everyone loves Starbucks coffee. It was a huge brand. So of course it's going to work in Australia. So they landed in Australia and opened a whole bunch of branches in Australia. To their shock, they found out that actually Australians do not consume coffee the way Americans consume coffee. Australia has a culture of the way the Italians like to consume coffee in a very, they like to consume their coffee in a slow, leisurely way, whereas the Starbucks coffee is very much around, very quick, convenient, a lot of sugar sometimes, almost dessert-like coffee. So they made a huge investment coming into Australia, but before long, they really shrunk their market and had to exit the Australian market. So even a company as big as Starbucks didn't do their research, invested millions, and got it wrong in Australia. So the whole point about understanding your consumer and doing the research will help you to be strategic, make the right investments, and know how to package yourself effectively to solve a consumer problem. So that would be my first parting shot. And then the second one would be, digital commerce. The digital world is fast-paced, and there's always innovations and things happening. And even I get overwhelmed trying to figure out and keep up to date with all the different technologies. But what I would say as an SME is start small and just ensure that you are dipping your toes into this digital world. You don't want to be left behind. So one thing that I'll advise as well is, for example, in marketing, you may feel overwhelmed and want to be on Instagram, on TikTok, on YouTube, on X, on so many different platforms. My advice is pick one platform and master that one platform. Once you've mastered one, then when you do have the bandwidth and you can maybe employ someone to manage your socials, then you can branch out to other channels. So be strategic, start small, but don't be left behind. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much. What an awesome parting shot. Research, 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 and make sure you have a digital footprint. Thank you, Fiona. Over to you, McKenna, for your parting shots. Last remarks.
Thank you, Sonny. Thank you so much, Sonny. So for me, the first thing I'd like to leave this meeting is for each of the SMEs that are on the call and each of the ones who are joining, is to really to understand their business from an access to finance front. The whole issue now is in terms of just the other thing I would like to advise them is to start keeping your records, start understanding your business, go through your statements, find out, how much you're making, understand your business in terms of financial analysis. Don't run away from finance analysis, because that is what now you'll need when you're going to the lenders to access financing. So know your business, know how your systems, how your finance is looking like a business, your bank statements, just have all that and understand it. And like Frida has said, there are organizations that actually teach you all this stuff. And even if they say no, go back to them and ask them why don't I qualify? And try to really understand what's happening. And this kind of like really frees up an SME, because now understand your business. So when you're saying this is what we make, this is the gap, we need this amount of X shillings or X dollars to move to the next level. So go back to your bank. Go back to your bank and say, you know what? You guys have, you really want to reach the women's market? I'm here. And this is how much I need. What do you need from me? And be bold, get out there, tell them, and then when they tell you to tell them about the business, just talk about the whole business, not access to markets, advertising only, not to networks and partnerships, everything. Just tell them about everything. Don't leave anything out. And so and that's my last parting thought. We go and visit those banks right now that have a Movency product. Thank you.
Thank you very much. What an awesome parting shot. Be bold. Be bold, because the facilities are there And until you start showing up and letting your voice known to the banks that this is what you need, this is how you need it, this is how it suits your business, then nothing much might change. And let us not shy away from understanding our financial side of the business, because many times it becomes a very tricky space. So thank you so much, McKenna, for that parting shot. I think that has really sunk in. Over to you, Frida, for your parting shot and maybe last words of advice.
Thank you very much, Sonny. I really enjoyed being here and just listening to all the insights and strategies. And mine is 3 things that I'd like, mambo ni matatu, as our president says. All right. So be extremely aware and clear about why you are in business for yourself. Avoid comparing yourself with others, because that clarity is going to help you solve the problems that matter. When you solve the problems that matter, you are going to be able to influence and generate income. Number 2, be resilient. Know that life and business are not a straight line. You may have this great idea, you step out, it may be accepted, it may be rejected, it may not work the way you wanted it to work, but it's going to be purely up to you to dust yourself, get back up, and keep going. So surround yourself with people who are not just going to tell you what you want to hear, but are going to share with you what you need to hear and are going to hold you accountable to take action every day. Then you're going to grow, because business is not a walk in the park, but it can be fun if you're in the right network and you have the right support system and you're doing things that you love and enjoy. Finally, be consistent. Whether it is raining or shining, show up. Solve the problems you promised to solve, and you're going to stay in business. Thank you very much, Sonny. Back to you.
Awesome, awesome, so awesome. What a great parting shot. The 3 things, be aware of your why, stay resilient, and surround yourself with people who will help you stick in there, and be consistent. So thank you very, very much, Frida, for that parting shot.
Hi, Sonny. I just wanted to add something else. Sorry for interrupting you.
Yes. Go ahead, McKenna.
There's something that just came to my head. When you go to borrow money from the bank, just borrow what you need, what your business needs. Because that's why now we're doing all this analysis. Just borrow what your business needs. Don't be in a situation where you borrow so much and then you can't repay, and then your business now starts to. So just borrow what you need. Thanks.
Thank you. And that will be our very, very last parting shot. Just borrow what you need. We know the bankers have targets, so don't be pushed into borrowing money that you do not need. So make a good assessment and make sure you're borrowing to put it in the place where your business needs that particular boost. So with that, I think we come to the end of this particular session. And for me, it's just to pray and hope that everybody picked 1 or 2 nuggets. You are such a great audience. You are such an awesome panel. And I'm really, really grateful for this session. And I know that people will pick up nuggets that they will apply in their businesses and help them grow. So for now, I think I will take back the program to our Secretariat Coordinator, Waruguru. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonny. That was an incredible session and an enlightening one, even for me on this other end. A huge thank you to Sonny, Fiona, McKenna, and Frida. I have no doubt that we all are living here ready to take on new challenges and opportunities that are available. Before we move on, I would like to invite Sonny back again to tell us who SME Founders Association, also known as SFA, are. They are the organizers of the ASEB Kenyan chapter, and we'd like I would like to give them this opportunity to tell us, to share more about who they are and what they do. But before she comes in, on the chat box, we will launch a quick poll, just 4 questions, to gather your feedback on today's session. we would love for you to take that moment and participate, because we value your input, and we also want to make this session more valuable to all participants. So shortly on your chat, you'll receive a poll. In the meantime, karibu sana Soni, take us through SFA.
All right. Yeah, so here I am wearing many hats. So as the outreach coordinator, I think you'll allow me to just share my screen for 2 seconds so that we can be able to see what SME Founders Association does. It is one of those communities that you are asking for, as in where can you be able to get support? And SME Founders is one of those associations that will support you as an entrepreneur trying to come out and know more, access all the different things that we do at SME Founders. So basically, if you can see my screen, SME Founders is an association that was formed a few years back. We've been in the market for around 9 years and growing. It is formed to support SMEs grow, scale, and thrive. It is an SME Founders Association by founders for founders. The 3 main things that SME Founders focuses on is to introduce the entrepreneur by connecting them to money, markets, and mentors. So today we've talked about money. There's a way in which when you join the community, you'll be able to be pushed to the right direction on where you can access money, markets, and of course, as Frida mentioned, we also have a pool of experts that will help you with the needs that your business wants. So in terms of the community, SME Founders Network, for you to be part of the network, you come in as a partner, and there are different levels of partnerships. And when you enter that network is when now you can be eligible to join some of the other products that are within the association. So once you join the network as a partner, you have access to a clinics, you have access to a pool of experts, you have access to being able to market your product within the platform. You also can now get into these other associations that we have inside SME Founders, which is the Founders Profit Academy, where we have different modules that come up throughout the year. You can decide to enlist for one of them. We have a Catalyst program, which is more of a revolving fund, where business people put in their money and we can lend each other once in a while to support our businesses. Then there's also Business Dialogues, which is a Toastmasters club that helps you to be a more effective communicator as a business person when you're trying to put your business out there or even present it. We also have the Waigwa program, which is more for the younger people. And we do have partners once in a while who will come in and support us through programs that support the youth. The aspect of what is in it for you when you partner with us, we've already mentioned a bit of that. There'll be brand visibility because you have access to our community. We have a pool of human resources who have different capabilities, whether it's finance, whether it's HR, whether it is sales, so you have access to that. You can have your product displayed, and there's interaction during some of the events that we have. There's awareness of your product within the platform. You can advertise in our space. And in this, you're able to have product penetration and brand alignment. So how do you connect? This particular link will be on our chat. So please, for you to connect with us, just click on that virtual connect card, give us your details. You'll have somebody reach out to you so that we can have a conversation, understand what your business needs, and then be able to subscribe to the package or solution that works for you based on your size and also the needs. I think with that, I think I will end there. And please just be able to fill that form so that we can get back to you and be able to have a deeper conversation so that you sign in into something that you truly understand. Thank you. Back to you, Waruguru.
Okay. Thank you, Sonny. We are at the tail end of our session. I would just like to ask for another 2 minutes. We'll be ending by 1:15. Apologies for taking an extra 15 minutes. In the chat box, Sonny has shared the virtual connect card link. Please take a moment to fill it and check it out. We are beyond excited and humbled to have you join the SFA community. I want to present next week's Learning Lab, and it's also an exciting one. It will be on the 22nd of August, a virtual one, just like what we've had today, starting at 11:30 a.m. And the topic will be financing and access to capital for entrepreneurs and ecosystems. That is a session you don't want to miss. And the focus will be exploring various financing options for entrepreneurs. Today they have touched on this topic, but I believe next week is a session you do not want to miss. Who are the panelists? Panelists, we are privileged to have leading financial experts from the finance sector. So they are people who will guide you on how to access the finance and capital you need. Just trust me, you don't want to miss this session. It has been my pleasure to convene this session, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Until then, I am Waruguru Njage, Secretariat Coordinator for SFA. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic day.
Thank you.